Хөтөлбөртөө иргэн тавтаа мэрилнэ хөтөлбөр зочны ярилцлагаар үргэлжлэн хурж байна. Яг одоо олон улсын Америкийн архитектурын хүрээлэнгийн өмнөх оны ерөнхийлөгч Ю КИ ЧОНГ эрхэмтэй доктортой дизайн болоод архитектурын эрүүл мэндийн талаар ярилцахад бэлэн болоод байна. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Okay, first of all, welcome back. Welcome to Mongolia and welcome to CNBC Mongolia studio.
Thank you very much.
And I want to start the interview with the question about how is the global architectural trend is going currently from your perspective.
All right, I think the last 1 year in particular, there's so much transformation, both in practice and also in the profession of architecture. Of course, if I look at it from a broader scale, I would imagine there are 4 global trends. One would be AI and technology advancement, and how we're going to deal with those issues, especially ethics. Second would be sustainability and wellness, coming out from COVID and having our environment being destroyed. How are we going to make our places more sustainable and to be looking after the welfare of the people. And the third is the experiential design. It's something new that I think came up the last less than 10 years, because at the heart of it is how do you experience this design as you go through the space. This is a customer, it's just like in business, the customer journey. What's the experience? I think it's very important that after COVID, when we design a building, we want to make sure that when you come to my building, you feel safe. You feel that you know how to navigate this wayfinding around the building. So that's a very important. Finally, I think the important thing is about the architectural firm ownership. I think because of the changes in the global dynamics across the borders that I've been to in different countries, I see larger firms consolidate, whereas smaller firms are sprouting. So how do you reconcile this to bodies of work, especially for the institute? How do you deal with it? You have younger firms from younger architects who wants to start a firm, but at the same time, the bigger guys are pulling their resources together. So these are 4, I think, emerging trends that we should look at, irrespective whether you are in Singapore, Europe, or in Mongolia.
Right. So you are Singaporean,
right,
and Singapore has a tropical climate.
Right.
So that is very different from Mongolia, because you have to do the tropical sustainable designs for the buildings, right? But in Mongolia, it's mid-dry. It's dry climate.
Yeah.
So how do you compare those two? How do you think you can tackle these different designs?
Okay, very good question. I think we have to move 1 step backwards. I think we have to understand the principle of design, sustainability, and wellness, and then from which you customize it, you reinvent it to suit the climate, right? In Singapore, there are very peculiar strengths of climate. We have very heavy rain during the monsoon, and also water. Being a small state, island state, we do not have enough water collected to our islands, so we need to be mindful of how we use our resources. I think in Mongolia, if I do a quick check, under the Köppen-Geiger classification of climate, I think Mongolia, being such a big country, landlocked, but between the different Russia and China, Russia.
Right.
So you have the Gobi Desert at the south. So you have, I think, arid desert climate, and also the steppe is still arid. But as we move northward, you have those beautiful lakes, and this, I think, is more temperate. So, but it's cold, and also there's a lot of wind. So I think some of the challenges I see being here for the last few days would be, how do you deal with desertification of the place? How do you tackle the drought? How do you battle with the sandstorm? What's really interesting for me the last 2 days was to experience 4 seasons within a day. You know, you have in the morning it rain, in the afternoon it's sunshine, and then by 6:30 the snowflakes are falling down. The next morning I see a beautiful winter country land. You know, so I think as a designer, as someone who manage and plan the environment, you need to be mindful. How do you tackle the fluctuation in temperature between minus 40 to plus 40?
Yes.
Is your building a vessel to contain a livable space for the people inside? And what kind of filters you need to do as a facade to mediate this? Could it be thermal mass? Could it be geothermal heating inside? How do you deal with those issues? I think those are challenges, but I take it as opportunity. You know, like in Singapore, we have the rain, right? It comes in, but you still want to open the window to get the wind coming, right?
Yes.
So I think there's some innovative technology like monsoon window that's on that level. So it's not the window at this level that opens and shuts this way, but it opens this way. So while the rain doesn't come in, but the wind can come in through that. So I think that's one way to tackle the issue. It all deals with how you appropriate technology and make it fit for the people, and you scale it in such a way that you can produce it at a cheaper cost. Yeah.
You just said about the air quality issue, that you can control the monsoon season just with the window.
Yeah.
Mongolia has the air quality problem, but do you think it's possible to solve this issue with architectural design in the building?
I think we have to learn a lot from the other discipline, like the medical health. I remember when it was COVID, and I was trying to buy the Dyson fan, and then the most expensive one is the one with the HEPA filter, you know, the one that trapped the bacteria and the haze. So I think if I were to look at it, it's not just an architectural design solution. I think you have to work with the health science people, technologists, building material, and how you can find a way, be it is a filter or be it is a way to negative pressure. You know, in other words, if I'm in this room, and I want to push the air, I push the air out as a reverse against pushing the air in, and that recycle, because all the still air that pushes out, but then from the other corner where it's been filtered, that cool air will come in. So there's many ways to do it, but you just have to get people from the different discipline to come together. Yeah.
And you are the immediate past president of AIA.
Yes.
American Institute of Architects International, right? So how does community like this help tackle the global issues? And I want to know about your experience in David.
Okay, wow, that's a tough question. Just a little bit of background. The AIA International is a component of the AIA National. We are the largest and broadest component because we struggle across more than 40 countries, 100 countries, and we have people living within 20 time zones, right? So basically anything outside the country is under the jurisdiction of the international. So our leaders come from different disciplines, a different level of expertise. Say, for example, in sustainability, my experts are in Japan, they talk about earthquake design, right? In Australia, bushfire design. In Singapore, flooding. Maybe here is drought irrigation.
Well, we do have earthquake issues as well.
Really? Okay. So how do we do it? I think it's leadership. Top leadership is very important. We have to be seen as proactive to work with the local population and the authorities, and to see how we can be an enabler and a partner in trying to solve issues that are common to the environment, especially where you live, work, and play, right? You got to buy into what the national agenda is. But to an extent, I think it's from first principle. How do you tackle those issues? So what we'd like to encourage is cross-border fertilization between the different chapters. And the most beautiful thing is every year we have this international conference that that is hosted by different cities, and then we learn. In a way, it's like, we started in Kyoto, Toronto, Singapore, Prague, London, Shanghai, late Mexico City, Hong Kong, and then Colombo. And this year was supposed to be Abu Dhabi, but we're not sure yet because of the situation around the world. But I think in those instances, when we hopefully if we're coming to Ulaanbaatar, so of course we work with the local architects as to how to build up the capability of what we do, and then we engage the local people and try to find solutions. But more important is for us to come together and learn from each other. So it could be an instance where people from Australia will come and tell us about the indigenous design, which is very strong, right? Or in other countries like Brazil, how do you design for the population?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
So the problems can be solved by different the solutions from the different countries, and if you come together, that's
I think
a
the
very
real
good
power
one, right?
must be there. Yeah.
And I want to ask the last question will be, what change can this committee can make, and as well, what change can a person or the policymakers can make in Mongolia and globally? What message would you give?
Wow. I think, let's be realistic. You cannot change everything, okay? You have to select a few battles you want to fight and then work within it. And hopefully that will be the poster boy for the solutions to address the problems, that you want to resolve. And that can be amplified, right? So for instance, you could be just trying to green up this main square behind us, right?
Yes.
To make it more pedestrian friendly. So what we look at is how you bring people to the square, because the challenges of coming in from different streets have different impediments, walkways, street lighting, safety, unevenness of floor. So you build it up slowly, right? And then when it's so easy for people to come in, and it's safe, and it's well lighted at night, people spend more time in the city, right? And then you have community activities run by the city or the opera organization, dancing, singing, even celebratory events, right? So like the festive New Year, whatever. So I think that way your urban square become a catalyst for future pockets of the residual spaces in the city that you can then build upon. Mm-hmm. And when you do it well, say in another part of the city, and then you connect it, and then suddenly there's a whole network of places you can go to. I think that's one way you can start to look at revitalizing the city. But I think the overall focus must be the same. You want to make it a live, work, play, and a study environment. I think that's very important. I think that's what architect does. We are the facilitator of life. We do not dictate how people live, but we guide them, we inspire them. So especially in old buildings, we try to recreate memories for our elderly folks. But at the same time, the young one must understand the past before they can be a future leader. So very important, very important. The community is the heart of what we do, regardless of where you are.
Exactly, and thank you so much for coming to CNBC Mongolia studio and
Thank
speaking
you.
with us. And I hope we have a good cooperation with Mongolia and AIA or other architectural communities in the
Thank you.
future. And thank you so much and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Тэгээд олон улсын архитектор, олон улсын Америкийн архитектурын хүрээлэнгийн өмнөх оны ерөнхийлөгч асан Ю КИ ЧОНГ эрхэмтэй доктортой дизайн болоод архитектурын эрүүл мэндийн талаар ярилцлаа.